Hey freaks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is JJ. I'm both an author and a metalhead, and here on my channel I like to discuss the stories that go behind rock and metal concept albums. I am back again today with another Sleep Token album. This is technically part 3 of my Sleep Token series, but this is part 2 of the trilogy that we have of their 3 albums so far. I will be covering their 2021 album, This Place Will Become Your Tomb. And this one is really fun. I really love the whole water, ocean, aquatic theme that we have going on with this album. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, please go do that now. I'll link that up here and in the description and at the end of this video. I started off talking about the story behind their first 2 EPs, 1 and 2, and that kind of gives you a background knowledge on, what you need to know about the lore. And then I also covered Sundowning as well, so if you haven't watched those yet, you might be a little bit lost diving into this story, so go watch those real quick. But yeah, this was a fun one. So there is not any official story explanation for this album or this trilogy of albums. It's a lot of speculation and just a lot of different fans' interpretations. So I did browse a lot of online forums and found a lot of cool stuff that people have found as far as the hidden cryptic codes on within the album. But most of this is just my author brain going to work and coming up with the story for this album based on the lyrics and everything. So feel free to interpret it the way that you would like, but this is my personal interpretation. Before we get started, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to join my Metalhead community. Link is down in the description. From there you get access to bonus content, including other concept albums that I've explained that are not on my YouTube channel, and just some fun bonus stuff and a monthly newsletter from me. Anyway, let's get started. So some background before we get started on the story. I mentioned some hidden codes within this album. So on the album, and the album booklet that comes with the physical copy of the album, there are a bunch of different coordinates that lead to different points in the ocean. So one of those points is Point Nemo, which is the oceanic pole of inaccessibility, which means that it is the place in the ocean that is farthest from any landmass. And it is also known as the spacecraft cemetery because it is where the most spacecraft debris resides. There is also another set of coordinates that leads to Davidson Seamount, which is a whale fall off of the coast of California. Basically, it's a whale tomb at the bottom of the ocean, which is pretty cool. But yeah, and then I'll throw up a picture here, but you can see all the different coordinates. One of these numbers relates to the depth in fathoms, which gets progressively deeper and deeper as we go through this album. So we start off with track 1, Atlantic. So we last left off in Sundowning at the end of that album and that story. We left off with the vessel having survived a suicide attempt. Now I mentioned that he kind of just jumped into a body of water and tried to drown himself. And I didn't really go into much detail because I'm going to go more into it. I knew I was going to go more into it in this album explanation, but he jumped into a body of water to try and drown himself, but sleep saved him. But while he was drowning, he kind of got this glimpse of the nightmare realm where sleep resides, and he learned in this quick little moment, between almost drowning, that there is a secret portal somewhere in the ocean that leads to Sleep's lair, that you can kind of travel through this wormhole portal that will take you to the nightmare realm, which is where the deity Sleep lives. Now, after saving Vessel from his suicide attempt, Sleep was pissed. She wanted to end things with Vessel, but Vessel, begged her to stay, saying he'd do anything to keep her. And Sleep says, she needs some time. She's got to think things over because this was some batshit crazy stuff. And so she forces Vessel to go to the hospital to recover from his suicide attempt. And while he's laying there in the hospital, kind of wishing he were dead, wanting only to, fall asleep so he can return to her and see her once more. But, even when he does sleep, she refuses to see him when he is in the nightmare/dream realm. She refuses to see him. So even when he is dreaming, he can't really see her because she's like, hey, I want to talk to you right now. I got to figure some shit out. Anyway, that takes us on to track 2, Hypnosis. So I believe this track is Vessel just kind of longing to return to sleep, longing to be devoured by her again, possibly dreaming about times past. And, I imagine perhaps, during his stay at the hospital, the drugs that he's on maybe gives him insomnia, which is driving him completely bonkers because, you know, the only way he can reach sleep or even be near her is while he's sleeping, because she's kind of cut off all ties from him, you know, while they're in this little tiff that they're going through. Then on to track 3, Mine. And I believe this is Vessel begging Sleep for an answer. He's like, hey, you know, it's been long enough. I need to know, like, you gonna dump me, or, you know, are we gonna work this out? And he kind of just reminds her, you know, how good they were together, and, you know, how they're meant to be together. And he decides that even if she does try to end things with him, he's not going to let her. He is not going to take no for an answer. You know, she is his end all be all, and he is not about to let anything come in the way of that, even Sleep herself. And that takes us to track 4, Like That. So Vessel finally gets to speak with Sleep, and he kind of like offers himself up to her like a sacrifice, sort of asking her to hurt him, because he knows that she gets this kind of like sick pleasure out of you know, hurting him, and, you know, she enjoys bringing him pain. And although Vessel doesn't enjoy the pain himself, he's willing to endure it to, you know, make her happy and be near her. So she takes full advantage of the opportunity that he offers up, you know, to get her fix, so to speak, and she kind of tears into him, and, you know, hurts him real bad. But when it's all over, she still decides that she wants to leave him, that she wants to cut ties, and she's officially ending their relationship. Track 5, The Love You Want. So this is, of course, absolutely devastating to Vessel, considering, you know, he just gave her everything, you know, was physically tortured by her for a little bit, and she was still like, no, I'm gonna leave you still. So I think this track is Vessel's kind of like reaction to being dumped by Sleep. He is completely cut off from her and can't even reach her in his dreams anymore, but he's not about to just lie down and take it. Oh no, he decides he's going to go seek her out. So I mentioned before that Sleep kind of reigns over this nightmare realm that exists when you fall asleep, but Vessel found out that there is some portal that leads to it. You know, other than just falling asleep, you can actually travel there through this wormhole portal. And he doesn't know where it is, but he does know it's somewhere in the ocean, and he is determined to go seek it out and go find her. And that takes us to track 6, Fall for Me. So Vessel goes on a mission to find this portal, and he sets out to search the deepest parts of the ocean to seek his lover. Now, it's pretty impossible to reach a lot of these places, like, as a physical human being, so how I think he does this is through astral projection. By freeing his consciousness from his earthly body, he's able to travel the ocean without needing to breathe, and, you know, without needing any kind of crazy equipment or anything like that. This, however, is not without risk, because he is leaving his body, you know, for another realm. And because he is traveling so incredibly far, if, say, like the astral projection of himself were to get eaten by a sea monster, he will essentially, you know, die, as his consciousness will just cease to exist. And I believe this is Vessel, you know, setting out on this really perilous adventure and, you know, traversing the deep. Track 7, Alkaline. So this is the first place he searches for the portal. So the first place Vessel searches for the portal is Davidson Seamount, where he encounters the bones of an ancient dead whale. And I believe he has a conversation with this whale. Okay, let me back up here. I don't think the whale actually talks to him at all. I just think that, you know, the astral projection of Vessel is just kind of sitting there leaning on the bones, you know, maybe just talking to these inanimate bones about, you know, what he's doing there in this, you know, mission that he's going on, and he kind of tries to explain to the whale, you know, what it is about Sleep that he loves so much, but he sort of finds it difficult to put into words. And on to track 8, Distraction. So the portal was not at the whale graveyard, so Vessel has to keep looking. And so as he's traveling, he, you know, is having to dodge all these crazy sea creatures as he goes deeper and deeper and farther from the surface. You know, encounters maybe some like crazy prehistoric beasts that are way down there, and has to, you know, swim for his life. But the farther away he travels from his earthly body, and the longer he is away, the more he risks his death. So if he is separated from his body for too long, he will not be able to return and will either die or become some kind of like phantom-like ghost that kind of haunts the waters for all eternity. Already he can feel his soul kind of beginning to fracture and grow weaker the farther he travels. But he just kind of decides that it's too late to turn back now, and he'll either find sleep or he'll die trying. Track 9, Descending. So as Vessel travels the oceans deep, he begins imagining how this meeting with Sleep will go, once he actually finds her. He begins falling down this kind of spiral of sort of depressive thoughts of how bad things could go. And he starts to, how you do when you're kind of in a negative headspace, you start to make up conversations that have never happened. And, he begins making up conversations and starts to grow fearful that he will only meet rejection when he finally meets Sleep in her realm. And so he's slowly beginning to come to terms with the fact that this journey could be all for nothing. Like, he is risking his life and he very well could die all for nothing. Track 10, Telomeres. Don't know if I'm saying that right. Vessel then searches the spacecraft cemetery at Point Nemo. He doesn't find the portal there, but he does discover a clue that leads him to believe that the portal is at the deepest part of the ocean. So the deepest part of the ocean is the bottom of Mariana's Trench. But he's already been away from his body for too long, and he begins kind of hallucinating and seeing Sleep kind of everywhere he turns while he's on his aquatic journey. And he knows that traveling 35,000 feet down is most likely going to cause the permanent separation of his consciousness from his body. So like I mentioned, he might become this kind of ghost-like entity that is just stuck in the ocean forever, or his consciousness might just die and he will just cease to exist. So, traveling to Mariana's Trench will effectively bring his death. So he is then, forced to ask himself, am I going to do this? This is definitely going to kill me, but am I going to do it? And that takes us straight into track 11, High Water. So in answer to the question, will he sacrifice his life for his lover who probably doesn't even love him back? The answer is absolutely. Vessel dives deeper and deeper into the Mariana's Trench, and he feels his soul separating and the tether to his earthly body slipping from his grasp the farther he goes. I also imagine him, encountering more sea creatures, giant, enormous sea creatures, and having to swim away from their ginormous jaws trying to eat him. But as he swims, he tries to ask himself, was this worth it? During this whole journey, he's kind of been in denial about Sleep being faithful to him. He, deep down, he thinks, at the back of his mind that there is someone else, that she's chosen a different vessel, that, she likes better than him. But he doesn't want to face that possibility. However, the closer he gets to her and the closer he gets to this portal, the more he is forced to come to terms with the fact that she might not take him back, and she might also have moved on already. And so that takes us to our 12th and final track, Missing Limbs. So Vessel finally makes it to the bottom of the Challenger Deep and makes it through the portal. He is transported then through some kind of wormhole to the Nightmare Realm, where Sleep resides, officially sacrificing his life as he crosses over through this wormhole. And here I imagine this really dramatic scene of him laying eyes on Sleep for the first time in what feels like eons to him. He's at the end of this crazy journey and he finally locks eyes with her. And the look that passes between them tells him everything that he needs to know. She's moved on, she doesn't love him, and he shouldn't have come. So that's how we end this album story, or at least my version of the explanation, on a bit of a sad cliffhanger. But I'm excited to cover the final installment of the trilogy, Take Me Back to Eden, which I will do that as soon as I possibly can, but life is crazy, so I might not get around to it for a little bit. But I will do that as soon as I possibly can. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please let me know all your thoughts about the story down in the comments below. I know there's so much more research I could have done, but it's endless. There's so many fans of this band, and you all have really awesome and crazy, different and differing interpretations of the lore and the story behind this concept, and everything. So please let me know your theories and thoughts down below. And yeah, let me know what you think is going to happen after this, what you think is going to happen in the final album on the trilogy. And if you're new to my channel, go check out my backlog of other concept albums that I've explained. I have a ton of them on there, and I always take suggestions down in the comments for other concept albums you want me to cover. But I also prioritize suggestions that come from my Metalhead community, so feel free to join my Metalhead community. It's totally free, and from there you get access to my like exclusive suggestion box. I'll link that down below, and yeah, my backlog of other concept album explained, I will link on this video, like right here, maybe in this box area. Make sure you subscribe and ring the little bell thing if you want to get notified when I finally upload Take Me Back to Eden, the story explanation. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Till next time.